Good afternoon and welcome to Loughborough University here in the Netball and Badminton Centre for Wbbl Championship action between the Leicester Riders and Caledonia Pride. Just a few seconds until we get the game underway. Riders coming into the game at the top of the league table, currently 4-0 and their second home game of the league season. Caledonia on the other side, only their third game of the season, currently sat at 1-1. Good enough for 6th in the league standings, but although we're into February, the early parts of the WBBL Championship season sees only a few games having been played, so still all up for grabs. Both teams taking the floor, and they will both, I believe, take the knee in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And both teams observing it perfectly, and it will be Oliver to contest the tip with Phillips and get us under the way. And the ball rattling around all over the place, but it's Caledonia who come up with the first possession of the ball game. Ranger inside to Story. Story gets it back off the screen, but it's taken away by Januszewska. And Januszewska's going to go down to the other end. Winterburn into Oliver. Oliver fades away. No good, and the Riders all over the offensive glass on the first possession of the ball game. That's something that Caledonia have to limit. Don't want to allow them any second chance opportunities. Winterburn gets inside, but wild layup's no good, and the Pride will have an opportunity to run down the other end. Ball's in the hand of Doherty, and again stripped away by the Riders. Lappenkupper reversing through Clark. Backdoor to Winterburn. Nice little touch pass, but not enough on it. And it's taken away by the Pride down the other end. Blocked as well. And a scrappy start to the game, but even more so there as Januszewska was wide open for an open layup but couldn't quite gather the pass. So after 1 minute and 10 seconds, it's 0-0. Story up high, guarded by Oliver. Hands off to Phillips. Phillips off the back of a Team of the Week performance. Plays through the contact from Clark, and it's Ranger who comes up with a rebound. Ward Ranger inside to Phillips. No good on a layup. And last touched by Ranger, I believe. And it'll be Lappenkupper to get the Riders into their half-court offense. Guarded by Falou. Oliver straight to the basket. Left-handed layup's no good. And then called for a foul, 94 feet away from our own basket. Be the first personal foul of the game on Kate Oliver. So Caledonia with Falou, stripped away by Lappenkupper. Takes it straight to the basket, and the first points of the ball game. And it's the Leicester Riders 2-0. Story at the other end. High post, takes the jumper. No good, tipped away by Clark, but only into the hands of Ranger, who goes behind the arc for free. And it's no good as it trickles out of bounds. And it'll be a Riders possession. Clark to inbound. Pride doing a pretty good job to disrupt the inbound pass to Lappenkupper, who's guarded tightly as she crosses the halfway line. Gets it into the hands of Winterburn. Winterburn kicks out to Januszewska. Past the defender, no good, but Winterburn comes up with the offensive rebound and takes the foul. Ollie Winterburn with the and one will head to the charity stripe for the bonus point. Winterburn good at the line, comes into the game with an average of 14.5 points. Good enough to be in the team of the week 5 times already this season for the Riders. And a little bit too much on the pass on the baseline, but Holly Winterburn showing why she is 2-time WBBL Young Player of the Season for the Riders, and getting them into their half-court set now. Gets it back off Januszewska. Oliver wide open for free. Front rim, no good. And then it's deflected out of bounds by Katie Januszewska, so it'll be a Caledonia possession. Yeah, both teams, either side of the ball, playing without a couple of key players. The Riders missing Hannah Robb and Sarah Henriksdotter, who are away for the Eurobasket qualifiers. Robb with the Great Britain senior women's team and Henriksdotter with the Icelandic team, as we got an early timeout for the Caledonia Pride. And the Pride themselves missing a couple of players in Jenna Beattie and Louisa Alesquez, and the latter averaging 11 points and 7.5 rebounds for the Pride. Going to be a big miss for them today, and they're going to be looking to see where they can get some form of production on their roster. They have the youngest average age of all the teams as well in this year's WBBL season, just an average age of 18.8 years old. And of the 15 players on the roster, 11 of them are teenagers. So a lot of inexperience in the Caledonia Pride team, but they'll be on this roster for a reason. And the coaching staff, headed up by head coach Bart Sengers, will be looking for some sort of production from their young roster today. These two teams have obviously already met in the WBBL Championship season. The Riders taking that one 91-61 up in Scotland. And it was Henriksdotter on that day who had 19 points and 5 rebounds. It'll be interesting to see where that production comes from the Riders, and you look to players like Winterburn and Oliver probably to pick up some of the slack, but the Riders just showing their depth, that they still have more than enough on that roster. Clark, one of those other players, has it up high, guarded by Phillips, inside to Oliver. And it's an easy 2 at the rim for Oliver. So 7-0 now, the Riders lead. Only a few minutes into the ball game here at Loughborough University. And still Caledonia no good at the basket. Rebounded by Clark. Clark gets it back, finds Oliver. Nice little high-low action with Winterburn, who can't quite gather the pass. Keeps it in bounds somehow, finds Lappenkupper. Shot clock's down to 7. Over the top to Oliver, inside for 2. And it's a 9-0 run for the Leicester Riders. Phillips driving baseline. Kicks out to Story. Thinks about the free. One dribble inside the three-point line. No good. And another rebound for Ella Clark. Lappenkupper at the other end can't get the jumper to drop, and is rebounded by Ranger. Phillips. And the pass taken away, deflected by Januszewska. Lappenkupper finds Oliver, kicks to Winterburn, turns down the corner 3, gets into the paint. Good defensive stance by the Pride, but Lappenkupper gets the short corner 2 to go. Caledonia at the minute just really struggling to get into any sort of offensive groove. The Riders the best defensive team in the league, holding teams to 50 points per game. Falou travelled, just dragged her pivot foot on the drive. And she's going to head to the bench as Rose Harvey checks into the ball game. Harvey in her 3rd season with the Caledonia Pride. Scotland under 18 as well. And the Riders going to make a couple of subs on the opposite end as well, as Gaskin and Allen come into the game. And Allen looks like she's going to be playing the free spot. And kicks it out to Clark for free. No good. Rebounded by Allen. Back out to Winterburn. Takes her time. Hard hedge on the screen, and then it's deflected by Ranger. And then loses the ball out of bounds, so it'll be a Riders possession. But as we were saying at the top of the broadcast, the Riders missing Hannah Robb and Sarah Henriksdottir. It just means that they lose a little bit of wing depth on their roster. So looks like head coach Jesper Sundberg going with Whitney Allen to fill that. Would be accustomed to playing the 4 or the forward position for the Riders, but shifting out to the 3. Clark from long range is good. And the referee said she just towed the line. So it's a long range 2, but the Riders lead 13-0. Story at the other end with the offensive boards, and finally gets some points on the board for the Caledonia Pride. It's 5 minutes and 50 seconds into the game before they get their first basket. Gaskin into Winterburn on the block, taking a time, stripped away by Phillips, who's called for a foul. And I think that's the first personal foul on Phillips. So she'll stay in the game, and it'll be Pollyanna Story who heads to the bench. And it's Elise Tweedy coming in, her first season with the program. Gaskin to inbound under the Riders basket. Sorry, under the Caledonia Pride basket. Finds Clark. Clark fading away, no good. Another offensive board. And the Riders at the minute just getting all they want on the offensive glass. Winterburn, no good on the kick out 3, and it's Maud Ranger to push for Caledonia. Steps back, gets the 3 to go. And Maud Ranger coming into the game averaging 11.5 points per game. She's only a 21% 3-point shooter. They get the step back to go and trims the Riders lead to 8. Ains into the game, drives baseline, tries to find Gaskin on the opposite corner, and is taken away by Phillips. Almost loses the handle. Ranger another 3, front rim this time. And the long rebound comes out to Clark, who passes ahead to Winterburn. Can't quite get the angle on the drive and has to kick it all the way back out top to Clark. Loose pass is then deflected. Shot clock's down to 8. The Riders are going to have to get some sort of shot off here. Winterburn kicks out to Clark. Corner 3. No good again from long range for Ella Clark. And Tweedy at the other end can't get a layup to go in a frantic couple of minutes as neither team really taking control of the basketball. Allen hands off to Winterburn. Clark high post, gets the fake handoff and all the way to the basket for a left-handed layup. It just signals over to head coach Jesper Sundberg that I think she needs a sub as well. So what do the Pride have here to answer? Ball in the hands of Rose Harvey. Harvey behind the 3-point line. Front rim rebounded by Allen. And Winterburn's going to slow the Riders down. Pass is wayward, and it's Harvey who comes up with it all the way at the opposite end for 2. And neither team really looking like they're in any sort of rhythm at the moment. Clark attacks kick corner, deflected out of bounds by Ranger. And it'll be a sub for the Pride as Kerr checks into the game for the first time, and then on the opposite side for the Riders, Clark and Winterburn take a rest. Lappenkopper and Janazuska come back into the game. So the Riders back with their traditional 3 guard, 2 forward lineup. And then one of those forwards, Whitney Allen's going to go to work in the paint and gets fouled, so she'll head to the free throw line for 2. Foul's going to go on Rose Harvey. Allen at the free throw line doesn't get her first to go already with 4 rebounds in the ball game. Comes into the game with an average of just under 3.5. Can't get either free throw to go, but does get her own rebound again to take her up to 5. Takes a lot of contact, and this time decides to score the difficult way and extends the Riders' lead back to 10. Kerr finds Ranger inside the 3-point line this time, and everything just coming up a little bit short for the Pride at the moment. Under a minute left to play in the first quarter. 17-7, the Leicester Riders lead. It's going to be Harvey to inbound over on the far side. Gets it into Phillips, who had time and space. Turns it down, goes straight down the lane, and can't get the finish. And then Gaskin tips ahead to Januszewska. Januszewska out of control on the dribble a little bit, but managed to keep a hold of possession. She gets fouled. That foul is going to go on Eba Kerr. And that'll be the 4th team foul on the Caledonia Pride. So the next one will put them in the penalty. Januszewska into lap and cupper, finds Gaskin. Januszewska off the curl, attacks, and is fouled by Phillips. And that's going to be a second personal foul on Sean Phillips. So yeah, Januszewska at the free throw line gets her first to go. Her debut season in the WBBL. Averages of 7 points and 2.7 rebounds, but also 3.3 assists. The youngster showing her playmaking ability. Can't convert them both at the line though. And Caledonia are going to look to try and chip away at this Riders lead. And again the Riders with Lap and Cupper aggressive in the passing lanes, getting deflections on pretty much every Caledonia pass at the moment. Maybe Lap and Cover just taking time off the game clock. There's a second separating the shot clock and game clock as Gaskin attacks the basket. Can't get the finger roll to go. And the Pride will have an opportunity to get a score with Kerr. And looked like it might have been a travel, but the referees let it go. The shot was no good anyway. And at the end of the first quarter, it's the Leicester Riders 18, the Caledonia Pride 7. And scoring across the board for the Leicester Riders, pretty even and spread out. Clark with 4, Oliver with 4, and Lap and Cupper with 4 as well. Down at the other end for the Pride, no one with more than 1 basket. Ranger leading them with that 1 step back 3. The stat that jumps out the most for the Pride, those 10 turnovers, just really struggling to take care of the basketball once they get into the half court. Leicester Riders showing their defensive prowess and playing in the passing lanes and taking away any sort of rhythm or chance for momentum. And those 10 points have allowed the Riders to score 8 points off of those, 10 turnovers for 8 points from those turnovers. That meaning a big difference so far in the ball game. The Riders also with 5 offensive rebounds, which has allowed them 4 second chance points. And it looks to me as well at the minute like the Riders just struggling to get into any sort of rhythm. A lot of their points have come off those opportunities where they've had turnovers and they've been able to get out and play in the open floor and push the ball forward. But in the half court, they're just struggling to find that kind of rhythm that we would expect. Accustomed to playing through the high post court a little bit, playing through their bigs, trying to get backdoor cuts on opportunities that they can do to get their guards going downhill into the basket. At the minute, not really been able to get many opportunities to do that. So as both teams retake the floor, you're going to see Winterburn and Oliver come back into the ball game for the Riders. And it's going to be Fallu to inbound on the opposite side into Harvey. Harvey finds Loughborough. Loughborough to the basket for two. And Caledonia have had a couple of good opportunities at the front of the rim and just not been able to convert. And there's a jump ball called on the loose ball off the rebound. The possession arrow in favour of the Leicester Riders. But Caledonia at the minute, they've had a couple of good opportunities going downhill, getting to the basket, just can't convert. There is a lot of length on the Riders roster with Oliver, Gaskin and Clark protecting the paint as Winterburn gets the pass inside. Can't get the score though, and deflects it out of bounds. Kerr somehow, deflects it out of Kerr's hands. Kerr somehow kept a hold of it though. And there's a wayward shot there for the Pride, and it's Ainge who comes up with it. Ainge wants to go coast to coast. Does, Robin Ainge. From the defensive rebound all the way to the score. And it's a 13-point lead for the Riders. Kerr fades away. Wild shot by Kerr. Sorry, Tweedy that was on the fadeaway. Difficult to see some of the numbers on the back of the Caledonia Pride jerseys. And it is going to be Tweedy who heads to the bench as Story comes back into the game. Harvey got it pretty much full court off the pass. Reversal through Story is taken away by Ainge. This time finds Fallu looking to penetrate. Shot clock's down to 7. Story blocked by Oliver. And that's the first block of the game for Kate Oliver. 5th in the league at 1.5 a game. Winterburn over the top to Gaskin inside for 2. And it's a 15-point lead, the largest of the ball game for the Leicester Riders. Story up high. Finds Fallu out on the perimeter. Drives. Kicks out. Finds Kerr, who then finds Harvey for 3. And it's a little bit long, and the rebound just falls into the hands of Holly Winterburn. Winterburn goes straight past Loughborough over on the far side. Downhill. Skip pass all the way to the corner to Ainge, who had a toe on the line. So just be 2 for the Riders. And that's a couple of times where they've had a toe on the line and not converted from long range. And there's a foul there as Kerr aggressively attacked Gaskin downhill. And Gaskin called for the foul. That'll be the first foul of the game on Christina Gaskin, who's going to head to the bench with Ella Clark coming back in. And also coming into the game for the first time, Emma Morris, in her debut season with the Leicester Riders. Splitting her time between the WBBL and the Loughborough Riders Division 1 women's team. Played with the Irish national team at under 15 and under 16 level. Comes in with modest averages of 2.5 points and 2.0 rebounds for the Riders, but getting an opportunity to stake a claim for some more minutes and time today. Winterburn almost loses the handle. Oliver up high. Fakes the handoff, looking to go downhill. That's a tough move for Kate Oliver, but she can't finish it. And it gives the Pride an opportunity to do the same at the other end through Story. And gets them into double digits. 7 minutes left in the first half here at Loughborough University. And an offensive foul is called under the basket on Kate Oliver. Oliver battling for possession on the deep seal. Called for the foul. That'll be her second of the ball game. And Sian Phillips checking back in for the Pride. Oliver aggressive on the passing lane. That one deflected out of bounds, so it will stay with the Pride. Doherty to inbound right in front of the scorer's table. Gets it into Phillips. Hands back off to Doherty up high. And another offensive foul called. That one under the basket on Pollyanna Story. Moving screen. And it's going to see head coach Jesper Sundberg take a timeout. And just chat through with his side. And with the international break, there's no other WBBL championship games this weekend, but there is another one taking place on Wednesday as the Oakland's Wolves go up against Barking Abbey. Sorry, should I say Barking Abbey London Lions in that game. And that BA London Lions team, one of the other undefeated teams, and I know we're in the early parts of the season, but currently having only played 2 games, have 2 wins. Them along with the Leicester Riders and the Sevenoaks Suns are the 3 teams that have yet to lose a game. But Sevenoaks having only just played that 1 game before they went into the break, I guess we can call it, for coronavirus. One of a couple of teams that have opted not to play during lockdown and to wait until we come out of lockdown before restarting their season, along with the Manchester Mystics, who are the other team. That's why I think the season's been slightly disrupted, as you would expect, because of the coronavirus pandemic. Makes it difficult to have any sort of consistency with games. That's why we're seeing some teams on 4 or 5 games played and some on just the 1 or 2. Makes it difficult to make a read as well with where teams are at, as Oliver over in the far corner drills a free, and that's the first free of the ball game for the Riders. 1 for 5 now from long range. Extends their lead, and there's Oliver in the passing lane, takes it away. Just going to go all the way down the other end. And go straight past for Lou to put it in. So 5 quick points out of the timeout from Jesper Sundberg for Kate Oliver. And that'll be exactly the sort of response he wanted from his team. Doherty from 3 is no good. And Oliver and Winterburn just didn't get a call on the ball for the rebound. And deflect it out of bounds, so the Pride will get another opportunity. Doherty struggling to get it inbounds, does in the end with Phillips. Phillips goes to the basket and again leaves one on the rim. Gets her own rebound, fades away. Long rebound is tipped out to Clark, who marshals in the rebound and gets it into the hands of Winterburn. Winterburn skips to Oliver on the flare for 3. No good, and rebounded by Ranger. Pushes ahead to Falou, over the top, looking for Story. And that one's passed out of bounds. It looked like it got a tip from Kate Oliver before going out of bounds, but the referee says no, it's just a wayward pass, and so the Riders get possession back. Leading by 19 midway through the second quarter. Winterburn flips it back to Lapham Cupper. Winterburn penetrates baseline, can't get the wraparound pass to Ema Morris, and is taken away by Phillips. This time with Ranger under the basket, and again a lot of shot blocking and presence around the rim with the length of the Leicester Riders, making it really tough for the Caledonia Pride to get any sort of good look up when they get into the paint. So it'll be a rider's possession over on the far side. Winterburn gets it into Lapham Cupper. Oliver, nice high-low pass inside to Winterburn with the right-handed layup. And it's a 21-point lead midway through the second quarter. Dougherty looking to go downhill. Dougherty with a nice finish inside. And that's the first points of the game for Ella Dougherty. Previously played with the GB under 16s, but now just 17 years old. Lapham Cupper on the curl, gets fouled by Harvey. And I think despite it being a 19-point lead, it's one of the things I was talking about at the top of the broadcast is just the young age of this Caledonia Pride team. Average age of just 18.8, but 11 teenagers in their squad of 15, only travelling with 10 players today. There's Lapham Cupper at the line, gets her first to go. Also in her first season in the WBBL with the Leicester Riders, studying at the Loughborough School of Business and Economics alongside playing for the Riders this season. Another player who's represented her country at age groups, having played for Germany at both under 16 and under 20s. Story attacking Allen. Allen doing a pretty good job of keeping in front and disrupting the shot. A high post pass to Clark is taken away by Phillips. Phillips looking to go at the other end, and again Phillips can't get a layup to go. She's had so many opportunities in and around the basket. And now 0 for 6 from the field for Sian Phillips. Gets it after the pass over the top. Again attacking downhill. And this time gets the foul, so Sian Phillips will head to the free throw line for 2. Foul's going to go on Ella Clark for the Riders. And Phillips coming into the game off the back of that Team of the Week performance last week. She's a former GB under 20. Had 19 points in their previous game, 8 of them coming in the fourth. Just her first points at the free throw line today. Make that 2 as she converts on both of them. And she'll be glad to see the ball go through the basket. Try and get some sort of rhythm going and try and help her team on the offensive end of the floor. Clark up high, hands off to Winterburn behind the 3-point line. And we've got a foul called over on the far side on the rebound. That's going to go on Phillips, and I think that'll be a third personal foul. And that's going to force the Caledonia Pride coaching staff into a timeout, and that is the third personal foul on Sian Phillips. So I expect to see her head to the bench for a rest, and I wouldn't expect to see her come back in the first half with 3 minutes and 14 seconds left in first half. And interesting to see today as well with the Caledonia Pride. Head coach Bart Sengers is here with the team. But it looks like it's assistant coach, Coach Day, taking the timeouts. He took the pregame with the team as well. Interesting to see that approach from the coaching staff at Caledonia. Perhaps utilising this game as an opportunity to try something a little bit different. And it's something that I know other teams in the past have done before as well. Also shows the expertise and level of coaching that is across the board in the WBBL. I know the Leicester Riders have done something similar in the past as well. Previous head coach Krumesh Patel acting as assistant coach with Jesper Sundberg last season before heading out to Sweden, but also able to just jump in and act as head coach at any opportunity as well, having previously been the head coach of the team before taking over that head of the women's program approach. And Winterburn off the curl puts way too much on the jump shot, and the rebound for Doherty, who's then fouled by Whitney Allen. So Harvey crossing the half court and looking to get the Pride into their offense. Plays through the high post with Tweedy, who hands off to Ranger, kicks out. Doherty looking to go downhill. Nice floater there for Ella Doherty, the former GB under 16. And trims that Riders lead to 17 points. 33-16 they lead. Clark at the other end at the high post answers though. And that's bread and butter for Ella Clark. Doherty's corner three, good at the other end. And Ella Doherty coming to life a little bit for the Pride on the offensive end of the ball. Up to 7 points personal to lead our team with those quick 5 points. Winterburn kicks out to Ainge, wide open off the double team, and Robin Ainge answers with a three of her own. And the lead just like that, back up to 19. Winterburn picks the pocket of Harvey. And all the way for an easy two for Holly Winterburn. The Riders not letting up defensively. So far holding the Pride to 19 points in the first half. Winterburn gambles a little bit on the passing lane, although the Riders do a pretty good job of scrambling out of it. Ranger comes up with the offensive board. Utilizes the screen, trying to get downhill. Kicks out to the corner. Story goes up and finishes. Strong finish by Pollyanna Story, leading the team in points per game at 18. Also another one of the team that made that team of the week last week in the WBBL. She had a big double-double of 11 points and 10 rebounds. Clark can't get the layup to go. And the Pride just picking up the pace a little bit with Ranger. Head fake, gets Winterburn in the air to the basket. Can't convert with the left hand though. And it gives the Riders an opportunity to run. Winterburn, Euro step to the left hand is good. Doherty crossing over multiple times to get to the basket. It's another one at the front of the rim that the Pride have just left. Ainge finds Winterburn with a feet set, and that's money for Holly Winterburn. Story at the other end to answer, a little bit short. It's rebounded by Ainge, and the Riders are just going to slow it down for the last shot of the first half. Winterburn rejects the screen, spins on Harvey, steps through, and that's fancy footwork from Holly Winterburn to end the first half, where the Leicester Riders have a 26-point lead over the Caledonia Pride, leading 47-21. And it's Winterburn up to 14 points personal to lead all scorers in the ball game. And add to that 5 assists as well. She is everywhere for the Riders at the moment, who head into the halftime break with that commanding 26-point lead. And we're going to take a short break for halftime, but make sure you stay with us on this WBBL Championship live stream here from Loughborough University. We'll be back with you in a little over 10 minutes time. Welcome back to Loughborough University, where the Leicester Riders currently have a commanding 26-point lead over the Caledonia Pride, 47 to 21, and the standout performer has been Holly Winterburn with 14 points, 5 assists to her name, and again just staking her case for a GB Senior Women's call-up. And you've got to think that it's going to be on the cards at some point. The irony being, if she would have been away with the GB Senior Women's team, she wouldn't have been playing in this game, and so I'm sure head coach Jesper Sundberg is thankful to have her today. And she's really pushing the pace for her team. Caledonia at the other side. It's been Doherty and Story combining for 13 between the two of them, but a difficult game for them to get any sort of rhythm or momentum coming up against this Leicester Riders defence. The #1 defensive team in the league, holding teams to just 50 points per game, and they're on pace to hold Caledonia to just north of 40. And there's Oliver again with a steal. She's going to go all the way down the other end to the left and scores it. That's going to be exactly the sort of start that the Leicester Riders would have wanted, and not the start that Caledonia would have wanted. And the Riders look like they've come out with a renewed sense of defensive purpose. Winterburn gives up the baseline drive. Doherty's shot is no good though, and it's rebounded by Clark. Laban-Cupper finds Jana Zuska at the 45. Clark with the high-low into Oliver. Oliver to the basket for 2. And Kate Oliver with 4 quick points for the Leicester Riders. Rangers freeze, no good, and it's rebounded again by Clark. Ella Clark has been all over the boards for the Riders, up to 8 personal. Hands it off to Laban-Cupper. Again, Oliver high post. Winterburn to the basket. And it's a 6-0 run to start the second half for the Leicester Riders. Loose ball dived on by Story, kicks it out to Falou, finds Phillips on the curl, stripped away. And loose ball, his body's on the floor, and it'll be a jump ball. The possession arrow in favor of the Leicester Riders. And Katie Janazuska showing the hustle to dive on the loose ball and get the possession back for her team. Janazuska inside to Oliver, deep seal, head fake, gets the defender in the air. She can't convert with the right. Going with a weaker hand, it's no good under the basket. And then the dribble from Rangers just deflected out of bounds by Winterburn. Winterburn almost coming up with a steal. She averages 3.3 steals per game. Good enough for 4th in the league. And then the block from Clark. And this Riders defense really making a case in point to start the second half, not giving up any sort of easy looks and holding the Pride scoreless in the first 2 minutes and 7 seconds here at Loughborough University. Doherty, and again it's deflected out of bounds by Clark. So it'll be Doherty to get a second chance to get it in. Finds Ranger this time. Story up high. The setup dribble is no good, and she loses the handle. Jana Zuska finds the loose ball. She's going to go all the way and called for the offensive foul. Falou doing a good job of getting back and putting her body on the line. And that foul, it'll only be the first of the game on Jana Zuska. Story high post. Over the top to Phillips. Phillips nowhere to go over the top of Clark. Finds Ranger though. And Rangers 2 is good, and it's a 30-point ball game, 53-23. Lappenkupper puts the jets on and then slows back down. Again, looking inside to Oliver. Riders know they have an advantage inside, but Kate Oliver struggling in the paint today. Dougherty rips it away from Clark, who does a good job to get her hands on the ball, and then the shot corralled under the basket for Oliver. Kate Oliver just 6 for 12 from the field. She's 1 for 3 from 3-point, and there's Clark under the basket, and another layup missed for the Riders. And it's that same basket that the Pride struggled to get a layup to go on in the first half. You just wonder whether one of the facility staff has accidentally lifted the lid on the basket. A couple of subs for the Pride. Sorry, one sub for the Pride as Story heads to the bench and Kerr comes in. Phillips kicks out to Kerr, who's stepped on the sideline. It's going to be another turnover for the Pride. There's 19 turnovers in the ball game now. And they're the ones that'll infuriate the coaching staff the most when they're trailing by as much as they are. They're the ones that they can control. It's not a deflected pass. It's not a strip away from one of the Riders' defenders. It's just stepping on the court, stepping on the sideline and not knowing where the court markings are. Winterburn on the 45. Finds Oliver on the backdoor cut. Makes no mistake on that one. And Kate Oliver now up to 15 points personal. It's also a 6th assist for Holly Winterburn. Kerr goes up and under this time. Winterburn and Oliver. A two-man game over on the far side. Winterburn finds Clark at the mid-range. And Ella Clark and mid-range go hand in hand. That's where she makes her money for the Leicester Riders. Falou turns the corner, gets away from Lappenkupper, who does a pretty good job of getting back in front. Pass comes out to Ranger. Ranger off the back. Banks home the floater. And it's a 32-point ball game. 5 minutes 16 to play in the third. Oliver, head fake. Oliver going downhill. Rebounded by Clark, who fades away. Oliver comes up with the offensive boards, and this time scores under the basket. 59-25, the Leicester Riders lead. And then taken away, Lappenkupper will go down the other end with the left hand. And the Riders are up to 61. Kerr given a little bit of time and space, tries to go over the top to Phillips. It's taken away again by Oliver. Oliver finds Winterburn. Winterburn finds Lappenkupper on the rim run. No good though, and it's rebounded by Kerr. Phillips stripped away again by the Riders' defense, and then a belated whistle, but that's going to be a 4th personal foul on Sean Phillips. And the coaching staff for the Caledonia Pride are going to take a timeout. Just want to talk it over with the team. Only 4 points scored so far in this second half. It's been an 8-point quarter so far for Kate Oliver. He went into half-time with just 9 points. He's up to 17 now, shooting 50% from the field. But she's got 5 steals to go along with that as well. Just playing expertly in the passing lanes. Caledonia trying to exploit a similar sort of action with the high-low to where the riders get some success. It's just not working the same way. It's a lot of length with Oliver and Clark. Being able to play in those passing lanes, be able to get their hands to deflections, just disrupting any sort of offensive rhythm that Caledonia want to try and create. And so after that timeout and the foul, it's going to be a rider's possession over on the far side. The lead up to 36, the biggest of the game, and Lappenkupper just breaks the double team to get the ball in. Oliver gets free off the screen. Finds Allen, shot clock's down to 4. Allen with the spin move. A little bit too much on the shot though. And Caledonia will look to push. Ranger gets away from the from the hard hedge from Lappenkupper, but can't get the shot to go. Lappenkupper at the other end gets some separation, stops and pops. No good. Gets her own rebound. Kicks it out to Allen, who hands it straight back off. Gaskin all alone off the backdoor cut and just beats the shot clock. The Riders lead now 38. Kerr with the hook shot. No good. And it's rebounded for Gaskin. Riders have numbers in transition. Gaskin to Oliver. Full reversal. Gaskin got it by Harvey inside. Gas comes up with her own shot after Harvey gets a hand to it. And this time Gaskin makes no mistake and will head to the charity stripe for the bonus point. Christina Gaskin, just her second basket of the game. 4 points personal for her. There's going to be a timeout called by Jesper Sundberg. And I wonder if that's a timeout as much to get his team some rest as it is to talk over something tactically that they want to work on. They were saying missing Hannah Robb and Sarah Henriksdotter for the game today, both of them away at the Women's Eurobasket qualifiers. Robb with the GB senior women's team, Henriksdotter with the Icelandic senior women's team. Both will be rejoining their team for their next game. And so that has meant that the Riders are a little bit lighter there. I mean, they still have a ton of depth on that team, but with only 9 players on the roster. Head coach Jesper Sundberg used to having 8 or 9, but you also wonder in a game like this where they're up by 38 at this point, just how much longer he's going to leave players like Kate Oliver in the game. Relatively limited minutes so far at just 18. But may look to rest some of his starters. Winterburn and Oliver would be a couple that you would expect not to see a ton in the fourth, but you never know. And Jesper Sundberg just given a warning there by Roger Harrison. A little bit quicker on his timeouts if he can be. So Gaskin at the line now for the additional point. Can't get it to go, and it's rebounded by Loughborough. And the pass a little bit too much for Tweedy to gather. And as he was trying to keep it in play, inadvertently threw it out on the opposite side. Lappenkopper again, having to work to get free. Ainge back into the ball game. Finds Gaskin with the drop step and 2. And that's 6 points personal now for Christina Gaskin. Tweedy in the high post. And Ranger turns the corner on the screen. Kicks out to Kerr from long range. And last touch by the Riders. Kerr to inbound, gets it in a Ranger for 2. Oh, good, and a big rebound by Whitney Allen. Allen looking to go herself. Finds Oliver inside. It's another miss under the rim for Kate Oliver. Gaskin driving lane cut off, so kicks it back out. Shot clock at 5. Lappenkopper to the basket, and the bonus. Foul's going to go on Rose Harvey. So Lappenkopper at the line. 8 points, 4 steals in the ball game for the former German junior international. She can't convert on the free throw though, and then it's deflected out of bounds by Gaskin as she tried to gather the rebound, and Lappenkopper will head to the bench as Winterburn checks back in. Doherty to inbound. Gets it back from Kerr. Tweedy high post. Ranger corner 3. Nowhere near anything. And it's Gaskin that comes down with the rebound. High post for Oliver, nice thread the needle pass to Winterburn, who kicks out to Gaskin, corner 3. No good, and the Pride come up with it. Story all the way down the other end, and then blocked by Kate Oliver again. It's going to be the second block of the game for Oliver. Feels like she's got much more than that. Under a minute left in the third. Doherty's drive, loses the handle. Gaskin comes up with it. Winterburn over the half. Almost called for a 8-second violation. She was looking over at head coach Jesper Sundberg for the play call. And the shot clock got dangerously low. It's on 5. Oliver fades away. 2 is good. Doherty hands off to Story. Ranger on the curl, trying to get downhill. Kicks to Doherty, short corner. Story stops and pops, and it drops. Winterburn, nice pass ahead to Gaskin, loses the handle. Kicks out to Ainge in the corner. And she stepped on the baseline, I think, over on the drive. And it'll be a sub as Sophie Leslie comes into the game. Her first action of the ball game, and first action for the Caledonia Pride, and it's a 0.3 second debut to start, but you'd expect her to come out for the start of the fourth. A bizarre way to come in and make your debut for the team. But at the end of 3, it's the Leicester Riders 71. Caledonia Pride 27. And the biggest lead of the game was 46. We're now at 44, and you would expect the Riders to continue to extend this. It kept the Pride to just 6 points in that third quarter again. and I know I keep saying it, and without sounding like a broken record, their defense really has been on a different level this season so far. Offensively, I mean, they average 73 points a game as well, so they're almost at their average. It's a tough game for Caledonia, missing a couple of their more experienced players in BT and Velasquez, between them averaging about 16 points, but also a little bit older, a little bit more experienced and able to support their team. So it's a tough one for a young team, but the positive is every time you look over in the timeout or the quarter break, the coaching staff always teaching, always looking to help them improve, and it's only going to stand them in good stead later in the season. Looking through the scorers for the Riders as well. Winterburn and Oliver combining for 35. So half of the Riders' points coming from two, if not the two most important players on their team. And that's displayed in their efficiency for the ball game as well. Oliver with 21. Winterburn 19, but an efficient 7 for 12 from the field. Got 3 rebounds, 8 assists to go with it. 4 turnovers, the only real blemish on her stat line. So it'll be Sophie Leslie to inbound for the Pride. There's 4th quarter action underway here at Loughborough University in WBBL Championship play. It's Tweedy that has it. Finds Dougherty behind the 3-point line. A little bit too much on it. Rangers there to gather the rebound. Tweedy high post trying to square her up with Oliver. Finds Ranger for 3. It's short and will go out of bounds. Winterburn passing the half-court line. Ainge with the go screen, then curls. Comes back off the screen from Oliver over the top to Gaskin and gets fouled. Be Ainge to inbound under the bucket. Finds Oliver. Oliver going downhill. Has to kick out to Winterburn. Still time on the shot clock. Winterburn with time and space behind the 3-point line after the screen. The rebound falls into the hands of Whitney Allen, who did a great job to get good positioning under the rim. And it's back up to 46, the biggest lead of the ball game for the Riders. Story shot a little bit too much, and again, Caledonia really struggling when they get to the front of the rim. Just not enough composure to really make a difference there. Allen doing a great job to get a hand on the rebound and just deflects it into the path of Winterburn, who's going to get probably the easiest 2 that she's had all ball game. And then Winterburn with a steal takes it away. Oliver ahead to her. And I take it back, that's probably the easiest 2 that Winterburn's going to have had in the ball game. Ranger now wide open 3. And with 8 minutes and 11 seconds left to play in the game, it's a 47-point lead for the Riders, but this one has a bit of a danger to just drop into being some sort of scrimmage. Riders running the half-court offense. Ainge gets the 3 up. Can't get it to go as it goes in and out. Dougherty trying to get downhill. Driving lane cut off by Allen. Takes her time. Gets a shot off though, although has to force it over the top. And then Oliver on the rim run at the other end. Winterburn just reaching in. That allows Ranger to get past her. Oliver's there to help. And Oliver will be the one to foul. And that'll be the third foul on Oliver. And there's a sub for the Riders as Morris comes in and Ainge heads to the bench. Ranger no good on the first at the line. Previously played out in Westmont College in California. Gets the second a drop, so takes her to 11 points for the ball game. 11 points and 10 rebounds from the guard position for her. She comes up with the ball again. And then there's a jump ball as Allen and Ranger battle for it. A possession arrow in favour of the team in red. So the Leicester Riders will get it from the baseline. Allen to inbound. And again, the Pride making it really tough for the Riders to get it in. Winterburn guarded by Phillips, playing on those 4 fouls. Now gets switched on to by Ranger. Morris finds it. Oliver backpedaling to the corner. Toes on the line, but it was no good. The offensive rebound comes up in the hands of Gaskin, who goes up and under on the second attempt. And we're going to have a timeout called by the coaching staff for the Caledonia Pride. Trailing by 50, 81-31. 6 minutes 45 left to play in the ball game. And at this point, I can safely say that the Riders will retain their spot at the top of the league and move to 5-0. Next game up in the WBBL Championship, as we said earlier on in the broadcast, will be the Oakland's Wolves against the Barking Abbey London Lions. That one tipping off at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. And then these two teams not back in WBBL Championship action for at least a week. Caledonia will travel to Nottingham on Valentine's Day. The Leicester Riders not back in championship action until February 20th, when they'll take on the Sevenoaks Suns. Obviously that game, with Sevenoaks being one of the teams to opt not to play until the lockdown is lifted, could be one that potentially gets rearranged. I'm not sure what the status of Sevenoaks or Manchester is at the moment, but a couple of fixtures that might get pushed back to later in the season. In the meantime, we're back underway, and it's Falou for the Pride. Finds Doherty. Cross-court pass. Finds Phillips driving baseline. Lanes gets cut off, but kicks it out to Doherty. The long rebound gathered by Morris. Gets trapped in the corner. Does a good job of breaking the trap. Winterburn over the top to Gaskin is deflected out of bounds by Falou. Morris has to go over the top to get it inbounds. This little high-low action again between Clark and Oliver. And Kate Oliver starting to put some of those early struggles around the rim to bed. And takes her total up to 23 in the ball game. The Pride just having no answer for her inside. And it could have been a hell of a lot worse, just shooting 50%. She's 9 for 16 from 2 now, but in the early going, she had some really good looks. Just Doherty gets the 2 to beat the shot clock. Oliver had some really good looks, so she could be up above 30 really in the ball game. Gets it high post, hands it back off to Winterburn, going downhill. Gets hit hard and hits the deck. And the foul called on Falou. And Falou looks like she's come up worse for wear of the two. And Falou getting back up to her feet there. It's good to see. Looks like she's just a little bit shaken up from the play, but able to walk it off. Winterburn at the line, gets the first to go. And the second, so takes her up to 22 points personal. Ball in the hands of Leslie, finds Story. Story trying to attack. Oliver has to kick it out. Doherty inside of Phillips. Phillips has really struggled with the length of Clark on the low block. Anytime she's had an opportunity in and around the basket, Clark just disrupting any sort of shot that she's trying to get off. Inside of Phillips, this time it's stripped as it's Oliver that pesters her, and Sean Phillips with a rough night for the Caledonia Pride. Oliver up high, finds Morris, gives it straight back up to Winterburn. Winterburn uses the screen from Oliver. Nice floated pass inside to Oliver. Tries to get her own board, but no good. And a foul called on Gaskin for a push in the back, and that one's about as obvious as all the calls that we're going to get today. And timeout called by Jesper Sundberg. Despite leading by 52. And you've got to assume that any timeout at this point is for any sort of teaching moment for later on in the season. They might want to get a look at a certain set. They might want to get a look at a certain defense. It's an opportunity in a game like this where you now know what the result's going to be, that they can try something out a little bit different, try and get a look and feel at it. But either way, when I speak to him after the game, I will give him a little bit of grief for just extending this one out a little bit longer than it needs to be. So it's going to be a Caledonia ball in the hands of Sophie Leslie to inbound. Gets it into Doherty. Doherty attacks Morris straight off the bounce. Nice finish for Ella Doherty, the 17-year-old. Up to 11 points personal for her, and she's been one of the bright spots in the game for Caledonia. Came into the game with Story comes up with a rebound, and there's a unsportsmanlike foul called. And the unsportsmanlike foul is going to go on Kate Oliver, who just lashed out. And lashed out at Sean Phillips, and looked like it was just a battle under the basket for position. Neither one wanting to give up any sort of space or any sort of advantage. And that's uncharacteristic of Kate Oliver to lash out in that moment, but it sends Sian Phillips to the free throw line. But before that, I was saying Ella Doherty's been one of the bright spots for Caledonia. Came into the game averaging just 12 minutes a game for 4 points, a rebound and assist. And in extended minutes today, 28 minutes, she's had 9 points, 3 rebounds and 2 assists. So making a case to the coaching staff for the Caledonia Pride that actually she should be someone who could be pushing up her minutes in the coming games. That foul also, should just say, is the 4th personal foul on Kate Oliver. It's the 3rd team foul for the Riders. Skip pass over the Story on the far side, fades away, and Oliver grabs the rebound. Pushes ahead all the way to Winterburn, straight down the line on the far side. Clark, Gaskin battling for position with the smaller defender. Finds Oliver. Oliver nowhere near. And it's rebounded by Kerr. Kerr almost going coast to coast. Phillips under the basket. Phillips fouled again. And Sian Phillips, give her credit where it's due. It's been a rough night for her, but still battling away and still playing hard for her team. And go back to the free throw line for the 3rd trip of the ball game. A couple of subs for the Riders as Winterburn and Morris head to the bench. Jana Zuska and Lappen Copper come in. And I'm surprised a little bit in a way that we obviously players like Ainge and Morris staying in the ball game for the last few minutes. Try and get someone like Kate Oliver an opportunity to get out of the game. Jana Zuska gets it after the Iverson cut inside to Gaskin. Oliver high post, puts it on the floor and gets fouled. Foul's going to go on Pollyanna Story, so Kate Oliver's going to head to the free throw line. It'll be Oliver's first trip to the free throw line, amazingly. Good on both. And we're back at a 48-point lead. Story way behind the line, a little bit wild. Long rebound comes down in the hands of Phillips, and Sian Phillips just continues to compete for her team. Fourth trip to the line now for Sian Phillips, and though she's not had any makes from the field, she's up to 6 points personal. Another timeout called by head coach Jesper Sundberg. And I think you can tell from his body language, that's a timeout just to tell his team to calm down by the looks of it. I think there's been quite a little bit of contact from both sides, and I think the Riders give as good as they get, if not more. And so they've got to expect that at certain times, if they're going to be a little bit aggressive and start to play with contact, they've got to expect teams to try and counter and do the same. And try and stay composed in those moments. And it just looks like that's what he's saying to the team, is stay focused on the last 3 minutes. Don't try and get caught up in anything stupid. Don't try and get caught up in any sort of physicality that's not really needed. And I know from speaking to other teams and players around the league that they're one of the teams that players hate playing against because of that physicality. So you got to expect that there's going to be moments when teams will try and counter with that and try and ruffle some feathers a little bit. And that might be the right sort of timeout, just to tell them to keep playing through it. 3 minutes to go. It's a guaranteed win at this point. Get it wrapped up and enjoy the rest of their Sunday evening. So Phillips at the free throw line, and after the timeout pretty much iced the first one. And the second one, as she goes 0 for 2 from the line. Rebound with Oliver. Januszewska turns the corner out to Clark. And Doherty called for the foul, so that's going to send Oliver to the free throw line to shoot. Sorry, no, it won't. It's the Riders that were in team fouls. That's the 4th team foul for Caledonia. That's my fault. Pass just tipped, falls into the hands of Januszewska. Gaskin looking for it inside. Out to Lappenkupper, a rare freeze, no good. Tipped by Clark. And again in that mid-range, the short mid-range for Ella Clark. It's a 50-point lead again. Doherty turns the corner, gets her own rebound. Finds Story, Story fading away, blocked by Clark. Lappenkupper. High-low action disrupted by the Pride. They come away with an opportunity to run. Fallu kicks out to Story. Story puts it on the floor. Out to Doherty for free. No good. Chases her own rebound, keeps it in, but only into the hands of the Riders with Gaskin, who's just going to slow it down. They had an opportunity to play with numbers, but there's really no need at this point, so take some time off the clock if they can do. Oliver, again, high-low with Gaskin. Wanted the foul, but last couple of minutes in a game like this, I don't think you're going to get light calls like that under the basket. Oliver comes away with a steal, though. Oliver finds Gaskin, gets a feet set. Fake. Two's long. And it comes all the way out to Clark. Clark. And Gaskin has just hit the deck here and looks over to the bench and has asked for a sub. It's Gaskin and Oliver who head to the bench as Ainge and Morris come into the ball game. Ranger finds Lochran. Story from long range. Back rim, no good. Ranger almost kept it in bounds. There's a smile on her face over on the far side. You know, she just stepped out of bounds and has handed possession back to the Riders. Clark turns the corner. Clark gets it up, no good. Story's trying to go coast to coast, and a couple of wild shots from teams on both sides. Lappenkupper pushes ahead to Morris. Back out to Lappenkupper, skip pass to Januszewska. Head fake gets the defender in the air. Katie Januszewska straight to the basket. And there's going to be a sub for the last 30 seconds as Sophie Leslie comes back in and Pollyanna Story heads to the bench. Yeah, it's been a rough night for Story, shooting just 4 for 17 from the field. Ainge comes up with the ball, turns the corner. Ainge blocked by Tweedy. And there's one possession left in this for the Riders. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 25 on the game clock. Lappenkupper gets it into Ainge with her feet set. Front rim, no good. Clark almost comes up with a rebound and the shot clock gets switched off. Ranger will push ahead to Leslie. Leslie's shot wild and rebounded by Morris. Januszewska thinks about the shot, turns it down. Lappenkupper and the Riders will now just dribble it out as they realise there's only a few seconds left on the game clock. And the game will finish with the Leicester Riders remaining undefeated at 5-0 as they take the victory over the Caledonia Pride, 93-39, and some big performances despite missing a couple of key players. And the first one that jumps out is Kate Oliver, 25 points personal, 5 rebounds, 3 assists and 8 steals. Huge stat line from the Australian. And then supplemented by 22 points and 8 assists from Holly Winterburn, and a nice double-double of 12 points and 13 rebounds for Ella Clark. On the opposite side for the Caledonia Pride, Ranger with 11 points and 10 rebounds from the guard spot. Sian Phillips doing herself no discredit. She continued to battle despite having a tough showing. And then that bright spot that we talked about before as well in Ella Doherty with 11 points personal. And it's just a game where the Riders just had too much for the Caledonia Pride. Yeah, too much length on the defensive end, as we said, holding teams to 50. They kept them well below that. And just too much experience as well. But for a young team like the Pride, they can be, no pun intended, proud of the performance that they put out, and we'll hope to try and develop and progress as the season goes on. Just 3 games into a young season for them, and they will have more opportunities to bounce back. So for now, on the behalf of all of us here at Loughborough University and on this WBBL Championship live stream, my name's been Liam Jefferson. Thank you for joining us, and good night.